By the time Emeka switched on the bedside lamp, Chioma had already disappeared under the duvet like a criminal hiding from EFCC. The smell hit him next, strong, warm, and suspiciously similar to a rat that forgot to die in peace. That night changed everything. For months, Emeka had been telling his friends, "Guy, this one na wife material, 100 yards. Beautiful, respectful, educated, and cooks jollof rice that can wake the ancestors." Chioma was stunning. Her dark skin glowed like she'd been personally polished by angels. Her smile could melt even the streetest of African mothers, and her figure made tailors fight over who would sew her asoebi at weddings. She was that beautiful woman everyone turned to stare at when she walked into a room. Chioma and Emeka had been dating for almost a year, and that night was special. Emeka had invited her to spend the weekend in his house in Enugu. He was planning to propose on Sunday evening after church. He had already bought the ring, hidden carefully in his wardrobe, behind a pile of old NYSC uniforms. The evening started perfectly. Chioma arrived looking like a Nollywood goddess, wearing a soft peach dress that hugged her cuffs perfectly. She cooked egusi soup that night, and Emeka almost licked the pot. They watched a romantic movie afterward, cuddling like lovebirds. Around midnight, they both drifted into a sweet sleep. Emeka's head was full of wedding daydreams, matching agbada and lace, dancing under canopies, and his friends hailing him, "You catch better wife, oh." But around 3:27 a.m., his dream took a strange turn. In the dream, heavy rain started falling inside his sitting room. He tried to find shelter, but the rain followed him into the bedroom. Something wet was creeping toward his side of the bed. He woke up slowly, confused. His boxers felt damp. He touched the bed, wet. Ah! He sat up quickly. Did I forget to close the window? Is rain entering the house? He turned on the lamp. There was no rain, no open window, just Chioma curled up on her side of the bed, sleeping like a baby, and between them, a large, shameful wet patch on his expensive white bedsheet. At first, he thought maybe she spilled water, but then the smell rose, sharp, offensive, unmistakable. It smelled like a rat that died 2 weeks ago, went on vacation, and came back to rot again. Emeka's face twisted. "Jesus Christ of Nazareth," he whispered, pinching his nose. He shook her gently. "Chioma, Chioma." She mumbled and turned away, pretending to be deep in sleep. But she was awake. Her heart was pounding loudly. She was sure he could hear it. This was a nightmare. The moment she always prayed would never happen. Chioma had mastered the art of sleeping at home only. Whenever she spent nights elsewhere, she stayed awake all night, pretending to watch movies or pray until dawn. But that night, the food, movie, and comfort lured her to sleep. She forgot to keep guard. "Chioma, wake up!" Emeka's voice grew louder. She slowly lifted the duvet, her eyes blinking innocently, like a child caught eating meat from the pot. "Emeka, what happened?" He pointed to the bed. "What is this?" Chioma glanced down, and the shame hit her like thunderbolts. Her face turned red. She wished the ground would open and swallow her. Maybe it's the water from the cup I was drinking," she stammered weakly. Emeka raised one eyebrow. "Water that smells like this?" He sniffed dramatically, then opened the window like a man fighting for his life. Chioma covered her face. Tears burned behind her eyes. She had faced this kind of shame before, with lovers who once adored her but disappeared after the incident. But this night, it hurt more. She truly loved Emeka. They both sat in awkward silence for a minute. The only sound was the standing fan squeaking like it was laughing at them. Chioma, Emeka finally said, trying to keep his voice calm. This thing, is it a sickness or spiritual? She shook her head, unable to speak. What could she say? I am 30 and I still bedwet. By morning, Emeka had changed. His usual jokes were gone. He was quiet, distant. He cancelled the proposal dinner because of sudden work. 2 weeks later, he broke up with her via text. You are a wonderful woman, Chioma, but I think we are not meant for each other. I wish you were. Chioma cried for days. She blocked him everywhere. But deep inside, she feared the truth. It would happen again with the next man. Because no matter how beautiful, smart, or perfect she was, she had a secret that refused to grow up. Chioma looked like a woman who had everything going for her. Whenever she stepped out of her apartment in Nsukka, heads turned. But on the inside, Chioma carried a secret she couldn't share with anyone. She had dated several men in the past. Handsome men, smart men. Some were even ready to marry her. But none of the relationships lasted long, and all for the same embarrassing reason. Chidi was her first serious boyfriend in the city. He was tall, muscular, and always wore fitted Ankara shirts with modern designs that showed off his chest. People called him African tall. Their relationship was full of romantic drama, long walks, matching Ankara date outfits, Sunday brunches where everyone admired them. Chioma thought he was the one. One weekend, she finally agreed to spend the night at his place. She wore a soft, colorful jumpsuit, feeling both shy and excited. Everything was going well until around 4 a.m. Chioma had dozed off. When she woke up, she realized she had wet the bed again. The smell was faint at first, but the fan spread it quickly. Chidi sniffed. Babe, wait. You perceive that? Chioma froze. Her heartbeat started drumming, like talking drums at a village festival. Chidi pulled off the duvet slowly, and there it was. His eyes widened. Chioma, abeg, tell me say na rat die here, because this is not ordinary. Chioma stammered. I think maybe your water spilled. Chidi laughed nervously, shaking his head. Water that smells like dead bushmeat? Haba. By next morning, he was avoiding her like she carried village juju. A week later, he told her, you are a fine woman, Chioma, but I can't marry someone who turns my bed into mini river at night. Buchi was perhaps the funniest of them all. He was flamboyant, a man who wore Ankara suits with pink lining and called himself King of Swag. He adored Chioma. He even designed matching Ankara outfits for both of them. They looked like a stylish royal couple from a modern African kingdom. But one night, at his boutique's anniversary party, Chioma got a bit tipsy. He took her to the guest room to rest. She slept, and yes, it happened again. By the time Buchi returned to check on her, the bed was wet, and the smell had already made the room unbearable. Buchi screamed dramatically like someone who just saw a ghost. Blood of Nnamdi Azikiwe. What is this aroma of confusion? He opened the windows, sprayed half a bottle of air freshener, and called his cousin on the phone. Chike, abeg, come clean this room. Something spiritual is happening here. He didn't break up immediately, but from that day, he started avoiding sleepovers. Eventually, he ghosted her. By the time Chioma turned 30, she had already stopped hoping for love. She focused on her job and her fashion. She looked like a woman who had life figured out. But every night, she slept alone, carefully spreading plastic sheets under her bed covers, like a secret soldier preparing for battle. She tried everything, herbal concoctions that tasted like burnt tires, midnight prayers with her auntie's church group, limiting how much she drank at night, even wearing traditional waist beads she bought from a market woman who claimed they were peace-stopping beads from Calabar. Nothing worked. The bedwetting refused to leave her, and deep inside, something strange kept whispering to her in her dreams. Sometimes she saw the image of an old wrinkled woman standing near a river, watching her silently. She always woke up sweaty, confused, and a little afraid. She didn't know it yet, but the answer to her problem was buried in her past, back in the village, long before she became the elegant Chioma of Nsukka. At home, Chioma's mother, Mama Agatha, was slowly losing patience. She was a full Igbo woman, always wearing her thick red Ankara wrapper, tied high with matching head tie, and a permanent frown of "I have seen life" on her face. Every morning, she would walk into Chioma's room, carrying a plastic bucket and muttering prayers like a woman in spiritual warfare. Chimo, a grown woman that still bedwets. Ndị be anyị will laugh at me if they hear this. She would raise her hands dramatically. Chioma, my daughter, when will you stop watering mattresses like cassava farm? Chioma would cover her face in shame. Mommy, please lower your voice. But Mama Agatha didn't understand lower your voice. She only understood alert the neighborhood. I said it. That thing that happened when you were small, eh? Maybe this is spiritual. Chioma would roll her eyes. Mommy, abeg, leave that one. It's just a health condition. Health condition, okay? At 30, to fear what? Mama hissed, tying her wrapper tighter as if preparing for battle. Chioma had two close friends, Ngozi and Amaka. Ngozi was the loud one. Amaka was the calmer one. But her eyes were sharp. She noticed everything. One Saturday afternoon, they all gathered at Chioma's house for their usual small chops and gists. The three of them sat in the sitting room, looking like three Nollywood actresses in their colorful attires. Ngozi started the gossip as usual. Babe, tell us the truth. What really happened with Emeka? I heard the council proposal plans just like that. That guy was obsessed with you. Chioma tried to laugh it off. It's complicated. Amaka narrowed her eyes. Complicated like how? Did you catch him cheating or he saw something in your past? Chioma hesitated, her throat tightened. Ngozi leaned closer dramatically. Talk now. Abi, you snore like generator? Or you beat him at arm wrestling? Chioma burst into laughter, but the laughter didn't last. Her face fell again. She whispered, "It happened again." Ngozi's eyes widened. "Wait, that happened? At his house?" Chioma nodded slowly. Amaka covered her mouth in shock. "Jesus, after you promised to stay awake the whole night? I don't even know when I slept off. The food was too sweet," Chioma said weakly. Ngozi started laughing uncontrollably, rolling on the sofa. "Chai, so you turned his bed into mini Niger River? Ah, men don't suffer." "Ngozi, will you shut up?" Chioma threw a pillow at her. But even Amaka couldn't hold back a tiny chuckle. "Ngozi, stop it, Joe," she said between laughs. "Chioma, don't worry. We will find solution. But honestly, this thing is serious. You can't keep losing men like this," Ngozi added. "Babe, you fine, oh. But if you no solve this thing, wedding bells go remain trumpet." Chioma sighed deeply. "You think I don't know?" As if the personal shame wasn't enough, her aunties and cousins started putting pressure on her. Every family gathering turned into a matchmaking festival. "Chioma, when will you marry? Time is going, no. Your mates are giving birth. That fine man that came to visit last Christmas, where is he now?" She would just smile fake smiles, adjusting her colorful lace wrapper to distract them. They didn't know why those men always disappeared after one romantic night. Chioma's mother dragged her to all sorts of solution places. A church vigil where a prophet poured anointing oil on her bed and shouted, "Spirit of midnight, you reign out." a herbalist who tied red and black threads on her waist and said she must avoid drinking anything after 4 p.m. A nurse who told her to train her bladder like a dog. Her friends gave their own advice too. Ngozi suggested adult diapers. Amaka suggested therapy. Chioma tried everything, but nothing worked. The problem continued, unpredictable, humiliating, and stubborn. Then one night, Chioma had a dream. She saw herself standing in a dark forest, wearing a beautiful golden Ankara gown that glowed faintly. The air was cold. An old woman appeared near a river bank. Her wrapper was faded, her gele crooked, and her eyes sharp like a hawk. She didn't speak. She just stared at Chioma with a face that looked oddly familiar. Then Chioma heard a voice, soft but clear. Go back to where it began. She woke up sweating. Her bedsheet was wet again. But this time, it wasn't just another accident. Something about that dream shook her to the core. And deep down, she knew the answers she had been searching for might be hiding in the past she had chosen to forget. Long before Chioma became the stunning woman who turned heads with her colorful African attires, she was a lively 12-year-old village girl. She grew up in Umukoro village, where gossip spread faster than bushfire, and every child's business was the village's business. Chioma had always been beautiful, even as a child. Her skin was smooth like freshly peeled groundnuts. Her dimples appeared whenever she smiled, and her bright dresses made her look like a walking butterfly. She was cheerful, mischievous, and full of confidence, sometimes too much confidence. She lived with her mother, Mama Agatha, and her younger brother, Ebuka. Their compound was surrounded by tall mango trees, and children often gathered there to play 10-10 and Suwe. Chioma was always the leader of the games, loud and dramatic, the kind of girl who never let anyone insult her without giving it back double. One hot Saturday afternoon, the village market was full of life. Drummers were beating rhythms, women in colorful wrappers were bargaining loudly, and goats were bleating as if they were part of the conversation. Chioma had followed her mother to buy ingredients for egusi soup. As they walked through the market, they noticed Mama Nwaye, the old woman who sold herbs and roots. She was known for her strange smell, a pungent mix of smoke, herbs, and something nobody could quite describe. Some said it was from the powerful potions she made. Others whispered she was a witch. Children usually avoid her stall. Chioma, being bold and outspoken, didn't hold back her thoughts. Mama, she whispered loudly, covering her nose. Something smells like dead rat here. Her mother hissed, Chioma, behave yourself. But Chioma didn't stop. She pointed at the old woman who was arranging bitter leaves on her wooden table. Ah, it's her. Mama Nwayi's body is smelling. Mama, can't you smell it? It's like something died and refused to leave. Some nearby women turned their heads sharply. The market went quiet for a moment. Even the drummers paused. The old woman slowly lifted her eyes and looked at Chioma with a long, piercing stare. Her wrinkled face tightened. Her lips quivered slightly. Young girl, she said in a low, rough voice, your mouth is sharp, but remember, the tongue that mocks may one day beg for mercy. Chioma, thinking she was just a harmless child, laughed carelessly. Who is begging? I just said the truth. You need to bait, Mama. The women nearby gasped. Chioma, stop it! Mama Agatha scolded, pulling her daughter's ear. Mama Nwaye shook her head slowly. She wasn't smiling. You will grow beautifully, very beautiful. But the night will never be your friend. You will remember my smell. Her words floated in the air like a strange breeze. Then she turned back to her herbs as if nothing happened. Mama Gata dragged Chioma away quickly, hissing and muttering under her breath. Do you want trouble, eh? You don't insult old women in the market. But Chioma laughed all the way home. Mama, what can she do? She's just an old woman with smelly armpits. Her friends joined her in mocking the incident, making jokes for days. They even gave the woman a nickname, Mama Wanyi Dead Rat. Chioma enjoyed the attention. She didn't realize that some words are not just words, especially in an African village where the spiritual and physical often walk hand in hand. After that day, nothing strange happened immediately. Life continued. Chioma went to secondary school, became a fashion queen in the village, and eventually moved to town for university. She forgot completely about the market scene. But Mama Wanyi's words didn't forget her. Some nights in boarding school, she noticed occasional bedwetting, but she dismissed it as stress or bad dreams. In university, it happened rarely, but whenever it did, the smell was shockingly strong. Still, she never connected it to that childhood encounter. Meanwhile, back in the village, Mama Wanyi grew older and eventually passed away. Some villagers claimed she left behind a strong spiritual legacy. Others swore they sometimes smelled her signature scent on windy nights like the market square. But Chioma never paid attention. One Christmas holiday, when Chioma was about 19, she returned home to visit. That night, as she slept in her childhood room, she had a strange dream. She saw Mama Wanyi standing beside her bed, holding a bundle of herbs and whispering in an unknown language. The smell filled the room. Chioma woke up in shock. Her bed was wet. For a moment, she panicked, but then she brushed it off, blaming it on too much palm wine from the family party. She changed her sheet and never told anyone. If only she knew that the old woman's curse was maturing silently, like a trap waiting for its time. Back in the present, after Chioma's failed relationship with Emeka, Mama Agatha began remembering that market incident that happened at Umuokoro village when Chioma was younger before she moved to Chioma's house at Nsukka. She sat on her bamboo chair one evening, fanning herself with a woven hand fan. There was that day in the market. Chioma insulted that old woman badly. I scolded her, but Mama Wanyi cursed her. I'm beginning to wonder. That night, Mama Gata stared at Chioma sleeping peacefully in her nightgown and whispered, My daughter, could this be the root of your problem? She didn't know the answer yet, but she had a strong feeling the past was not fully buried. The moon hung lazily over the sky that night, bathing Chioma's curtains in a soft silvery light. She tossed and turned restlessly on her bed, clutching her duvet like it held her secrets. The room was quiet, but her mind was louder than a village drum festival. She was tired of washing bedsheets, tired of losing good men, tired of pretending everything was normal. Something must be wrong, she whispered. But what? Her mother's suspicious glances lately weren't helping. Neither were her friends' jokes that sometimes cut a bit too deep. And then there was that recurring smell, sharp, rotten, unforgettable. A smell that always seemed to appear after her midnight incidents. That night, Chioma sat up abruptly. I can't keep living like this, she said. It's time to find answers. The following Sunday, Chioma decided to see Pastor John, the youthful but fire-spitting preacher at her church. He was known for his deliverance services that often lasted into the early hours. Chioma wore her brightest yellow and blue Ankara dress and tied her gele like a warrior queen on a mission. After the service, she quietly requested to see him privately. Sister Chioma, you are looking radiant today. What brings you to my office? Pastor John said, smiling. Pastor, I am dealing with something strange. It's been happening for years. She explained everything, the bedwetting, the smell, the broken relationships. Pastor John listened carefully. Then he leaned forward. This is not ordinary. You see, the enemy can use shame to block destiny, but the Lord is greater. So what should I do, Pastor? He suggested a 3-night prayer and fasting program at the church. We will break every yoke. We will scatter every curse. But before then, I want you to pray tonight and ask God to reveal the root cause in a dream. Chioma agreed. She went home feeling hopeful, though slightly anxious. She had prayed before, but never with this kind of seriousness. That night, after her midnight prayers, Chioma finally drifted to sleep. Her dream started peacefully. She saw herself walking through her childhood village, wearing a flowing Ankara gown in shades of red and gold. Children were playing suwe around her. She felt calm. Then she heard it. Chioma, Chioma. A voice whispered softly like wind through dry leaves. She turned around but saw no one. She kept walking. The voice grew louder. Chioma, you laughed that day. You laughed at me. Her heart began to race. She turned and saw an old figure standing by the market square. The person wore a wrapper and held a bundle of herbs. The smell hit her nest. Sharp, musty, unforgettable. No, it can't be. Chioma muted. It was Mama Nwanyi. The old woman stared at her with the same piercing eyes from years ago. The tongue that mocked. The night that follows. You will remember my smell. Chioma tried to run, but her legs refused to move. She screamed and woke up covered in sweat. Her bedsheet was already soaked again. Oh God, she whispered, trembling. It's her. It's the old woman. The next morning, Chioma rushed to tell her mother everything. Mama Gata listened silently, then sighed deeply. Chioma, do you remember that day at the market when you insulted Mama Nwanyi? I can barely remember. I was just a child. She cursed you that night. I didn't think much of it then. But maybe this is the root, Mama Agatha said. Chioma heart pounded. Mama, what do we do now? Mama Agatha looked toward the village calendar on the wall, her eyes thoughtful. If the living cannot forgive, perhaps the dead can still be appeased. We may have to go back to Umokoro, to her grave. Chioma froze. The idea sent chills to her spine. Her grave? Mama, are you serious? But deep inside, something told her this might be the only way out. The sun had barely risen over Nsukka when Chioma sat on the edge of her bed, staring at nothing. Her room smelled faintly of the air freshener she had sprayed after washing her bedsheets again. But beneath it, she could still detect a faint trace of that rotten smell, the one that haunted her night. She was tired of running from shadows. Enough is enough, she said aloud. If the answer is in the village, then to the village I will go. Mama Gata had already started preparing for the trip before Chioma even asked. She tied her vibrant red and yellow wrapper tightly around her waist and packed food like they were going for 2-week festival. She was a typical Nigerian mom, no journey without food. Chioma wore a multicolored Ankara jumpsuit that hugged her figure and tied a stylish blue head wrap. Even on a spiritual mission, Fashion couldn't rest. They boarded a bus heading to Abia State. The journey was long, bumpy, and full of interesting characters. Traders carrying chicken, a preacher shouting about repentance, and a woman who kept eating corn loudly. Chioma tried to stay calm, but her mind kept replaying the dream. Mama Wanyi's voice echoed in her ears. You will remember my smell. When they finally arrived in Umukoro, it felt like stepping back in time. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of firewood smoke and roasted yam. Women in colorful wrappers balanced baskets on their heads, and children ran barefoot, chasing each other with loud laughter. Some villagers recognized Chioma immediately. Ah, see Chioma, the beautiful daughter of Agatha has returned. She smiled and greeted them politely, but inside she was anxious. She knew why she had come. Mama Agatha led her straight to the compound of Mama Ogechi, one of the oldest women in the village and a respected custodian of the village history. Mama Ogechi was wearing a green wrapper. Her wrinkled face was wise but kind. They sat on a wooden bench under a mango tree as Chioma explained everything, from the bedwetting to the dreams. Mama Ogechi nodded slowly, as if she already knew. Mama Wanyi, she said finally. That woman was not ordinary. People feared her because she saw things others couldn't. Her words were like palm oil. Once they touch something, they leave a mark. Chioma swallowed hard. Mama, is it true she cursed me? Mama Ogechi leaned closer. My daughter, when elders speak in danger, their words sometimes travel into the future. What you described sounds like a curse of shame. She said you will remember her smell at night, didn't she? Chioma nodded. Then that is it, Mama Ogechi continued. This is a spiritual punishment tied to your pride that day. It affects your nights because that is when your words mock her the most. When her body smelled strongest, after a long day in the market, she didn't touch you with juju. She simply spoke it, and heaven heard. Chioma gasped softly. But why the smell? Why the bedwetting? Mama Ogechi smiled. Because what you mocked is what now mocks you. You laughed at her smell. Now shame comes to you with smell. You mock her body's weakness. Now your own body embarrasses you at night. The words hit Chioma like cold water. She lowered her head, shame washing over her. But then Mama Ogechi added something unexpected. However, she said, Mama Wanyi's curse was never meant to last forever. She believed in justice, not wickedness. She gave a condition that day that many people didn't hear clearly. Mama Agatha leaned forward. Condition? What condition? She said, the day she remembers with humility, the night will remember her too. Meaning, if you ever realize you're wrong and go to her with humility, even if she's dead, the curse will break. Chioma's eyes widened. So if I apologize at her grave, this can end? Mama Ogechi nodded firmly. Yes, but you must do it sincerely, from the heart, and you must bring her something she loved in life. Chioma frowned. Something she loved? Mama Ogechi chuckled softly. Mama Wanyi loved roasted plantain and groundnuts more than anything else. Every evening, she would sit under the almond tree by the market, eating it slowly like a queen. Bring that to her grave. Speak from your heart. Ask for mercy. Chioma stared at her mother. It all sounded so simple, yet so deep. Could the solution to years of shame be a graveyard apology with roasted plantain? Mama Agatha squeezed her hand. Chioma, if this will give you peace, we will do it. That night, Chioma couldn't sleep. She lay on her bamboo bed in her childhood room, listening to the cricket chirping outside. Her mind replayed everything, the market scene as a child, the lovers she lost, the embarrassment, the smell, the dream. For the first time, she whispered into the darkness, Mama Wine, I am sorry. The air in the room shifted slightly, like a gentle breeze passed through. And for the first time in a long time, her bed stayed dry. She sat up in shock, feeling the sheets dry, completely dry. She burst into quiet tears of relief. Tomorrow, she whispered, tomorrow, I will do it properly. The next day, Chioma was set for the apology. Her mother led her toward the forest path. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Birds chirped their last song for the day. Chioma's heart beat fast with every step. Finally, she reached the Iroko tree. And there it was, a small grave, covered with weeds, but still marked with an old wooden cross. The air around it felt heavy, but strangely calm. Chioma knelt down slowly. Her hands trembled as she gently placed the roasted plantain and groundnut on the grave. Her voice shook as she spoke. Mama, why? I was just a child. I didn't know what I was doing. I mocked you that day, and I am truly sorry. My life has not been the same. I have suffered shame and pain because of my careless words. Please forgive me. She burst into tears. Years of embarrassment and frustration flowed out like water. Suddenly, a gentle breeze swept through the trees. Even though the evening had been still, the leaves rustled softly, and Chioma felt a strange lightness in her chest. For the first time in years, she didn't feel cursed. She felt heard. She smiled through her tears. Thank you, she whispered. When Chioma returned to her mother's house, something felt different. That night, she slept peacefully. She woke up the next morning, slowly lifted the duvet. The bed was dry. She screamed with joy, waking her mother. Mommy, Mommy, look, it's dry. Our mother rushed in, wearing her purple-orange wrapper, eyes wide. When she saw the bed, she covered her mouth in shock. Chioma, it worked. Chioma laughed and cried at the same time. Mommy, no more shame, no more smell. I am free. They hugged tightly, both laughing like children. By noon, the entire village had heard the news. You see, in Umokoro, information traveled faster than an express bus. The same people who once whispered about Chioma's mysterious adult bedwetting were now whispering about how she had finally been set free. At Mama Ijeoma's food stall, two elderly women discussed it over steaming plates of jollof rice. Have you heard? One said. They say Chioma went to apologize to Mama Wanyi's grave. The other replied, licking her fingers. And it worked though. No more bedwet. The first woman shook her head. These curses are real. I told my children to always respect elders. You never know who has hot temper and spiritual backup. Even Chioma's childhood friends gathered under the Udala tree to talk about it. A few days later, Chioma returned to the city. She walked into her apartment like a queen returning from a victorious battle. Her bright green and gold gown sparkled under the light as she moved gracefully. One Sunday afternoon, Chioma decided to visit Emeka, her ex-fiancé, the same man who had broken off her engagement after the unforgettable night of bedwetting. She wore a rich purple gown with gold patterns, her hair tied elegantly, and her smile confident. When Emeka opened the door, his jaw dropped. She looked radiant. There was no sign of shame in her eyes, no fear, no hiding. Chioma, he said softly. Yes, it's me, she replied, her tone calm but playful. Surprised to see me, he stepped aside to let her in. She looked around the house, memories flooding back. That awkward night, his disgust, her humiliation. But this time, the air felt different. She told him everything that had happened. How she discovered the curse, how she apologized, and how she was finally free. Emeka listened, guilt slowly spreading across his face. Chioma, he said firmly, I am sorry for how I reacted that night. I didn't understand. I should have supported you. Chioma smiled kindly. It's okay, Emeka. Honestly, if I were in your shoes, I might have run too. They both laughed. It wasn't the bitter laugh of old lovers. It was the easy, warm laugh of two people who had moved on from pain. Then Emeka said something unexpected. Chioma, if you are willing, I would like us to start again. Chioma froze, surprised. She hadn't expected that, but deep down, she felt at peace. She didn't need his validation anymore, but the idea of a fresh start, one built on honesty and respect, warmed her heart. She gave a playful smirk. Emeka, let's start with lunch first, one step at a time. Weeks passed, and Chioma's life bloomed like flowers after the first rain. She no longer feared sleepovers, relationships, or whispered gossip. She walked with her head high, her colorful African dresses swaying with confidence. She started volunteering at a youth center, sharing her story to teach young people about the power of respect and forgiveness. Her tale became popular, not because of her embarrassment, but because of her courage to face it and rise above. At night, she would lie in bed, smile at the dry sheet beneath her, and whisper a small prayer of gratitude. Thank you, Mama Wai. Thank you for forgiveness. Moral of the story: words have power. Respect elders. Be careful what you say, because sometimes the things we laugh at today may shape our tomorrow. And most importantly, it's never too late to make things right.